allow people to make withdrawals from your
Yeah.
energy bank, you also have to make sure you... Happy Wednesday, everyone. It's your favorite realtors, Andrea and Andrea.
Hi.
Well, we come to you in the heart of the beautiful nature, and we just wanted to have a few candid conversations with you guys.
Yeah.
Just being vulnerable, and we hope that our story and our dialogue will touch your hearts and spirit.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for listening in. So, we have been talking about wanting to do a podcast for a very long time, podcast and YouTube. So this will be available on podcast, Anchor for sure. But we've been talking about wanting to share the conversations that we have on a daily basis together. We've been wanting to share that with the world, and because we know it's going to resonate with other people. And so we decided we're going to choose a day, and we are here with you guys. So our goal is to talk about life, to be very open, very transparent, very vulnerable. For me, I've been even more inspired after listening to Viola Davis, her new book that's out, Finding Me. And one of the things I've been talking about and I've been telling myself is courage, and she talks about that in the book. So this is us being courageous and just wanting to share some conversation with you all. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. So, let's see.
What are we talking about today?
Childhood.
Okay, childhood.
In Viola's book. So we're both reading this book simultaneously, and I mean, it is riveting. It is entrancing. I mean, I literally didn't want to go to bed before finishing the book. And she really exposes a lot of vulnerabilities that happened in her childhood and how that kind of affected the trajectory of her life. It's powerful.
Yeah.
And just to start off with childhood, there's a lot of the times that we encounter things that we have no control over and we can't change. And the key
What
thing
are some
is,
of those things you're talking about?
Oh my gosh.
What would you say from your childhood? Something that you
honey.
Let's hit. If we're gonna
Our
go
mama,
there, let's
honey.
go there.
Our mama.
Mom, we love you. We love you. But
Allie.
this is a platform to be
Yes.
transparent and open.
So every day when our mom would come home and we heard those wheels going against the gravel towards the backyard, it was like...
And the wheels were her car. She was coming from work.
Yes.
And we basically all went into this frenzy. We gotta
Everybody
make sure...
would be running through the house.
Yeah.
Making
Chaos.
sure everything is perfect because you just knew there was going to be chaos.
Yeah.
And as soon as she opened the door, it was this like darkness just came in the house. And it was just like, you guys didn't mop the floor. Oh my God.
Yeah.
What? I mean, it was just insane.
Yeah.
And mind me, we do commend her, or we do love our mom for
Of
the
course.
sacrifices that she made. She came here.
And she did the best with what she had at the time.
Yes, because
so
she also had a
growth,
very
very interesting
herself.
Yes, exactly. So it just, and all of that, what we're saying is that, that was definitely a situation that was not fun, but that's why healing is important, and that's why we have dedicated, like, at least for me, the past year, I have been focusing on healing myself. I came out of a relationship February of last year, that's 2021, and it was the very first time I was ever able to just live on my own, meaning I had been out of my mom's house since I was 21. But I've never actually lived in my house by myself. But we talk about that because we're saying that healing is so important, especially you have to take the time with yourself. And I'm happy we're able to do this before we have kids, because we want to make sure that we're bringing them into an environment, an atmosphere that's it's gonna fall around growth and love and positivity and flowing downstream. But we know we've healed and we understand what our triggers are, but we're aware of ourselves. It's self-awareness, and it's scary. And Viola talks about that in her book. You know, self-awareness takes time, but
she talked about so the most riveting thing that she mentioned. So obviously her family was living below the poverty line. There were days where they didn't have soap, they didn't have dishwashing liquid, they didn't have laundry detergent,
Right.
and they would pee the beds very frequently. So imagine you're in poverty, you pee the bed. Normally, nowadays we all have access to washer and dryers. You throw it in there, you
Right.
just drive to the laundromat.
Yeah.
They could not afford that. So they would have to go to school just soiled
And Viola
in
talked
their own
about
waste.
and Viola talked about
You know?
how she was she did bedwetting frequently, and
I think until age 14.
yeah, and it makes you reflect and makes you think back on the things that sometimes you take for granted, the simple things. And I could relate to her. As I was listening to her book, I was able to reflect back on a lot of my own experiences, especially our earlier upbringings living in Jamaica. And we had an outhouse, but we were too little to go in the outhouse, so we actually had a potty.
Something that you would put underneath the bed. It was
Yes.
like a little bowl, like a little
Yes,
potty.
like this
It was
big, this high.
And it would conveniently be under the bed. And
Yes.
if you needed to use the bathroom
Yeah.
during the night,
Yeah,
you would just
we
pee
pooed in that even
and
during the
poo.
daytime because we were too little to go in the outhouse, and we were living with her aunt and uncle.
Yes.
Very much when you consider the poverty line be below, but we were happy. So that's the
And
thing.
we had
were
food.
happy.
We never It
Right.
was a little different.
It
we,
was.
We may have been at the. We may have been a little poor, but we weren't po. Viola
Right.
said the word po.
Right, and Oprah
There's
even
a
said that.
Yes.
Oprah
There's a
said,
difference between being poor and being po.
yeah,
We had food. We went to school every day. We went to school in clean clothes.
yeah.
She even mentioned rats.
Yeah.
Like they were so terrified at night.
Ooh,
they could hear the
an
rats
ant or two.
just coming through and just ravaging everything
Yeah.
that they had in the kitchen. And
We
Viola,
can relate to that though, Andre.
we didn't have rats. We had mouse, and we had old furniture in our house.
Yeah.
And certain of the drawers, they probably weren't opened or used for a while.
Right.
And then you would see the little baby mice, and we would actually put. We used to like playing with
We
them.
used to put them in a drawer,
Mhm.
and we had them in a drawer, and we would feed them.
Mhm.
And my Aunt Fuddy, and Uncle Charlie, we lived with them while our mom was in America, making a better, living and for us.
Yep.
But anyway, the rats, we used to play with them, and then we got caught.
Mhm.
So I could relate to her when she said I didn't necessarily hear rats chewing on a doll like a porcelain
Yeah,
doll.
no, we never had
No.
that issue.
But we had, we had little
We had
mice.
vermins as well.
Right.
However, it was not to that
One
capacity.
second.
But
Hey guys, sorry. We're outside in nature, as you can see, and I needed to sneeze, and I did not want to do that on video. But continue with what you're saying.
so, so she would be terrified by the noise of rats defacing her dolls. And these were hard plastic dolls. So just imagine. And they would go to bed wrapped up in clothing because they did not want the rats to get to them, especially their necks. They would wrap themselves up in all types of
Yeah.
clothing.
Yeah.
And just hearing that, her father would abuse her mother, bloody
Right.
fights. It just
Yeah.
you
And
know,
when you hear that, it really just makes you. When I listen to her, and it's beautiful, just hearing her voice and her talk about just her experience, and you can see that she's in the moment as she's, having this conversation, reflecting with you. But what I took from that was just like, my life was not as bad as hers, and I'm grateful. And we all have different, we have different upbringings, but even so, the courage that she had to
use it as a catalyst.
she used it as a catalyst. That was the fuel that she needed. That was the fire. That was that was everything she needed to be able to believe in herself. And when she realized, I think she said at a young age, I think at 8, when she did her first skit, she realized that
This was her out. She knew.
Yeah.
She knew that she had to find a way out. And
Right.
her sister would always tell her. I think her sister said something to her one day, and it kind of created a little mini epiphany in her mind that she didn't. They decided that they did not want to be like their parents. And ultimately it just teaches you that we're all here to grow, evolve, and we can't change our parents. We can't change
Yeah.
how they raised us, but however what we can do is take full accountability of those experiences and use that as fuel to become even better. We live in an age now, like she went through this back in the day, meaning we still go through prejudice and racism and all that, but it's not to the capacity that it was before. Like, she was chased home
Yeah.
every day by white. She had to. Viola would leave class, try to be the first out of class to leave,
Yeah.
so that the white children would not call her a nigger and beat her. Boys. Okay.
Yeah.
You know.
So
So, and then look, now she's everywhere. She's a remarkable actress. I mean, world class. And you know, the message of today's podcast is just to, you know, let you know that you are not defined by what you have been through.
no.
And your scars,
Yeah.
wear them proudly. You
Yeah.
understand? And
Yeah.
use them as a reference point.
Yeah.
Don't let be the victim and you know, have it consume you, but use it as a reference point. This is what I will not go back to.
Yeah.
And at this
agree.
point, y'all, we're going to take a little break to replenish and hydrate, and we'll be back with you shortly. Thank you so much for checking us out. All right, and we're back from our mini break. So thank you again for joining us. So we were speaking about bullying and, you know, some of the things that she referenced in her book, you know, being, you know, totally just abused, not only by her parents, but also by children in school, you know, because she was darker, you know, and even some of the teachers would bully her because she wasn't light skinned. Like, the teachers would make you feel less than black teachers at that.
Yeah. She was going to a segregated school. So it was a black school, and it was a teacher that believed that she was too dark and it was shameful of some sort, and she was beaten. And it's so funny, you know, as I was listening to her again, I kind of feel like I had to reflect on an experience I've had in my childhood. When I lived in Jamaica, we were there up until about 7 or 8 years old. So we attended, you know, the primary schools, and I had a situation like that where the teacher, I can't remember why she whooped my ass. I think she wanted me to answer something, and maybe I was embarrassed. I peed myself. I think it was something of that. I can't remember. But she whooped me. And so in Jamaica, back then, teachers could beat you. And she whooped me so bad. I went home. My brother saw it and went back to the school. It was a private school. It was a Christian school.
Yeah, so we were poor, but our father made sure he had enough money
Yes.
to send us to private school.
Yeah.
It don't make sense, but it's okay. Because y'all probably like, y'all just mentioned it. Yeah, but we did go to private school.
Yeah.
So I was always a rebel. I was, as a child, I would stand up to adults. So we would always meet at a certain area. My uncle, our Uncle Charlie that helped to raise us, 5 foot, was probably waiting at the front of school. So I went to go get Andrea. And then I noticed that her skin was whaled up. Like, when you get, we call it whaled, but I wonder if that's the correct term.
Whelps, yeah.
And she, because she's lighter, you could see the redness and the raising of the skin. And I went in there, and I'm only a year older than her, by the way, but I've been a thug since day one. And I went in there, I said, "Why did you hit my sister?" I said, why did you I said, what was the point
No
of this?
reason. There was no
And
point.
she was probably shocked that she had this little human questioning her authority.
Yeah.
And then when we told my uncle, I think he about lost it. And we probably had a conversation with, you know, the principal. Her name was Reverend. And then when we went home, our aunt, which also helped to raise us, I know that she was very much dissatisfied. So they end up complaining to the school.
Yeah.
And I don't think that I recall getting extensive. I mean, it was damn near borderline abuse, y'all. There's a difference between, you know, discipline and abuse. And sometimes people thread that line a little bit.
Yeah.
But
and I'm sure people that have gone to Catholic schools, you know, maybe boarding schools, if you can relate to that, definitely comment and let us know. But that ass whooping was real. Okay.
Another thing that Viola mentioned in the book, it's almost like she was enduring hell on earth during her childhood. It was just, I mean, think about it. Just visualize, guys. Your parents are poor. You live in an abandoned building. You have rats. You can barely
Sexual abuse.
Sexual abuse. You can barely take a shower to go to school every day. You get teased at school when you go.
Yeah.
The teachers
And you smell
chastise
like
you in front of the children.
Yeah.
You smell like urine. You already don't have as much confidence.
Yeah.
And it's just one thing. And then you go home and then you all are hiding because your daddy is beating your mom with a 2x4 every night. It's almost like
crazy.
It's
sad.
People
It's
talk
very
about
sad.
hell and heaven. I believe hell and heaven is on, meaning you could either go through hell on earth or you could go to heaven. There are people living in heaven here, and she was going through hell.
Yeah.
And then the contrast,
Yeah.
you can
Ooh,
see how
contrast.
her life contrasts to all my people. If you ever listen to Abraham Hicks, they teach you about contracts, and he talks about the law of the universe.
Yeah.
And a lot of us African Americans, we don't know about that. We don't understand those principles until we keep doing the same things and repeating the same patterns. Or everything is about energy.
Yes.
Energy is about, and it's about how you feel. And we've been so desensitized as a people, and I think that's also something that has inhibited us from moving forward and excelling to the extent that we possibly can. What are your thoughts on that?
No, and that's true 100%. And you know, one thing that comes to mind as you are talking about energy is that, you know, before Abraham, I listened to one of her YouTube videos this morning, and she talked about, you know, we're so reliant on our five senses, right? Sense of smell, taste, hearing, touch. What's the fifth one?
And
Seeing, yes, our visual. So, but we have another. The sixth is energy.
And you can call it the Holy Spirit. You can call it God,
source. It doesn't matter.
Whatever it is to you.
Right. But that's that initial. I don't know if it's like a conversation or energy is like an exchange of something. That's the initial exchange that occurs before you even are able to utilize the other five senses. So being mindful of that, and you know, Andrea initially introduced me to energy. I started listening to Abraham February of last year. No, 2 years ago. But this was completely foreign to me. This made no sense, okay? 2 years ago, I would listen over and over again to Abraham's videos, and it made no sense to me. But finally, it started to make sense. And I started to see my life, and I was more aware of my life. I was more aware of the experiences, the patterns that I kept putting myself through. I was doing that. And it starts with the energy first. And so, yeah, you know, overall, we have to be mindful of our energy, and we have to, you know, we definitely have to put boundaries around it. And that pertains to boundaries when it comes to preserving your energy, when it comes to family or friends, a loved one, your kids, because that is what you rely on, you know?
And we only get so much.
Right.
You know, I always,
at a
like,
time,
I've done a little bit of life coaching, and I've always been one that people have been very comfortable to share, you know, some of their deepest, you know, secrets, and just being totally vulnerable, you know, so that they can move forward. And I will tell you, energy is like a bank account. And just as much as you make you make withdrawals, you allow people to make withdrawals from your energy bank, you also have to make sure you're making deposits. Because if you do not get enough deposits in comparison to those withdrawals, if they don't balance out, you will become emotionally and spiritually bankrupt. And I've encountered that firsthand. I know, I'm sure some of you guys have encountered that. So sometimes it's okay, it's okay not to take that phone call. It's okay not to have that conversation right there. It's okay not to hang out with that friend. That every time you leave them, you feel like the life is being sucked out of you. Pay attention to how you feel.
And even if it's a parent.
Oh, yeah.
Even
and
if
that's,
it's a parent.
that's difficult.
And it's hard because you love the person and you want to be around them or whatever the case is, but you see how much you're feeling drained. And it could just be being in the presence of the person. It doesn't even have to have been a conversation. And then the presence alone, and then the conversation, and then you are like, why am I so tired? Why do I feel exhausted? Why? You know what I mean? So don't be afraid to protect yourself from even your parents, you know.
And we just want to recommend that you guys read this book. We are
Please.
still we're probably like maybe 2 hours out from finishing it. It's about 9 hours.
Yeah,
Yeah,
chapter 16.
and it's on Audible, and she does have the hard copy as well. Read this
which
book.
we'll be getting.
This book will help you to face a lot of the times when we have these issues with relationships, we have these issues at work, we have these issues with friends and family. A lot of it is unresolved issues. A lot of the times we do not believe in therapy.
Yeah.
This book teaches you and it shows you that it is important to stop running from that inner child. And that's what we continuously do. Yeah. Face it. You have to face it. This is what happened to me. Yes, I have never gotten molested, but I know a lot of people that have.
Yeah.
And
they carry that with them.
Yes.
They carry that in their interactions with people, when they make certain decisions,
their relationships
and
sex. When it comes to sex, it creates a trigger. It's like almost certain things. It creates trigger moments, and you have to be aware of this, and you have to fix it. And it's hard because it's almost like you have to relive certain things in order to get through it, get past it. And we just want to share this with you and just tell you, never give up. Your circumstances do not determine your future. And no matter what it is, do not let anybody tell you that you cannot accomplish anything. Yes. Use that as fuel to keep trying even more. Yes. Because if you have the vision, you have the purpose and the alignment to execute it. Yes. And just stay strong.
Yes. And you are powerful. You are a wonderful creator. You are
God is within
present. You are learning to be still. You are going to be vulnerable in the right moments. You have strength. Your inner voice that's within you is strong. Listen to that voice.
And reconnect with nature.
Yes. And as you can see, our background is impeccable right now.
And this is natural lighting. We don't have a whole system right now. Okay?
Right.
So, and one of the things too is, look, and then one of the things Andrea told me about this, what was the name of that lady that you told me to listen to her podcast or whatever? Famous woman, self-talk. What was the lady's name?
Her name is it not Ayana?
It's not Ayana Bonzan.
No.
It's another, but she's another. We'll tell you in the future what her name is.
Yes, and we'll probably just put it in the description, the name.
Yes. However, one of the biggest issues that I had with myself is being able to truly and love and embrace myself. And that's also a reason why I was attracting certain people. Yeah. And sometimes we're looking for everybody to love us, and we don't love us. Mm-hmm. No one can love you until you love yourself. Mm-hmm. You can only attract what you are. Mm-hmm. And I had to start looking in the mirror every morning. Ooh, yeah. You are beautiful. Yeah. I love you.
Those positive
I forgive
affirmations.
You. Say those things. Pour into yourself. Yeah. Affirmations. Look in yourself in the eye, in the mirror, and say these things and feel it in the depths of your soul. Yeah. And I'm telling you, ever since I've started
you'll start to believe it too.
Yes. And your life will start to change. Mm-hmm. Meaning you're not just going to wake up one morning. You're just going to be, but it takes momentum and it takes time and
the right momentum.
Yes.
So you have to want to stop fighting against the currents. Stop trying to fight those rocks. You can just flow. And some people may understand what that means. Others may not. We will do an episode on upstream, downstream, and what that signifies and how to become more of a downstream flower, I guess.
And if you've ever been abused, remember, you are now in a position where you're not as vulnerable anymore. You're in control of what happens in your life. Acknowledge it and let it go. And I know it's difficult, but your inner child, if your inner child has unresolved issues, it will continue to chase you and haunt you for the rest of your life.
And get therapy. Yes. What I do love is that, we're not going to get on the topic of COVID, but COVID has brought a lot of great, I guess you can say, what I'm trying to say basically is Black folks are going to therapy. And COVID, being locked up in your house for as many months as you had to, and not just Black people, I think people of other races have been going to therapy, but we within our community, it's still considered taboo. And among men, Black men, I don't need therapy.
Hypermasculinity. Yeah. And a lot of the times, I've seen black women or even black fathers in grocery stores when their sons are crying, get up, nigga, you a man, you ain't supposed to cry. And what we do
Yeah.
is we desensitize these men, and that's why some of these men can't emotionally connect to you.
Yeah.
It's not because they don't want to, it's because they've never been taught how.
Yeah.
They have been desensitized.
Yeah.
And we have to start becoming more, we need to work on our emotional intelligence. Yes, black women are amongst the top in education right now, most educated groups. Yes, but we also need to work on the trauma, our daddy
Yeah.
issues, our mommy
Yeah.
issues, and having emotional intelligence. We need
Yeah.
to, we had a lot of difficulties, and I'm not going to say that yes, we're still overcoming those things, but we cannot put blame on anybody else at this point in time. We have to start maintaining accountability,
Yeah.
and we have to take our lives back. And it's
Yes.
one step at a time.
Yes.
It's not overnight. Rome wasn't
No.
built in a day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I
Give
agree.
yourself grace
I
too
agree. I
in the
agree.
process. Give
I
yourself
agree.
grace. It's important.
Grace is important, but
And let your kids cry.
yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
You can cry. And when people
Yes.
ask you how are you, a lot of, oh, I'm fine. No, something meaning I'm not telling you to be
I'm
negative.
victim to that.
Yeah, we got to be honest.
We do, and that's part of being
Sometimes
vulnerable.
you want to be heard.
Yeah, that's part of being vulnerable, being transparent. I always try to have a very positive, uplifting, point of view and perspective, and it's not always the case. But yes, being open and honest, because look, I may need my brother that morning that I feel shitty, that I'm lying about feeling great when I don't. I may need him to pour positive affirmations and positivity into me, and that may be what I need to get myself back on that downstream momentum. So yes, I agree. Be vulnerable, be honest about your feelings. And we talked about so many wonderful things so far. I hope, something resonated. I really do. And I hope that, you could have this conversation with your girlfriends. I don't know if you've thought of this before, but for sure, get Viola's book, at least on Audible, while you're driving in the car, while you normally would be on the phone with your girlfriend or your mama. Listen to Viola. You need that rawness. She's raw. She's authentic. She is raw. And we need that.
And she is such an extraordinary speaker.
Yeah.
I highly recommend the audiobook. Because you're hearing her voice, and it's almost like she's creating a depiction of what was it's like you're seeing a film in your mind as she's speaking.
Very visual.
Please watch it. Please be open-minded.
Listen to it.
Please listen to it. I'm sorry,
Right,
pardon
right.
me. And take time to meditate and just self-care, and just start surrounding yourself with positive people.
Yes.
Those are some of the key things. Like minds, basically, I'm not going to say that everybody in your circle is going to be perfect, because none of us are perfect. But try to have people that are more positive than negative.
I agree.
Because that goes a long way.
It does.
Because if you're always having to hold everybody up, what are you going to have left? So make sure you
Don't
have
be an
people that can
anchor.
call you and cry, but you can call them and cry as well.
Balance.
Yes.
It's all about balance.
Yes.
And you have to get outside of your comfort zone, and that means removing certain people that don't provide a balance.
Yes. Reciprocation,
okay.
value,
Yes.
reciprocation. And it's not tit for tat.
No.
But you cannot, you just can't be depleting yourself. And there are people that are energy vampires, and you have to understand that everybody, they're not bad people, but sometimes they are so consumed that they have no other choice.
Yeah.
It's like, you can't save someone. Like, for example, if somebody's drowning and they're frantic, you can't save them.
Yeah.
Because if they grab onto you, they're going to drag you down with them, and they're going to drown you because they have no control. So it's also knowing how to help, how to intervene in a way where you're helping them, but you're not sabotaging yourself in the process. Andrea, do you have anything else to share today?
No, but what I would like for everyone to do, if you have enjoyed this conversation and it has touched you in some way, resonated, or if there are any topics that you would like for us to discuss, please let us know in the comments below. And also like and subscribe and share. We are excited for this journey, and we are looking forward to you all joining us on this path. So thanks again, and happy Wednesday. And we hope you have a fulfilling and wonderful day.
Yes, peace, love, and delightful manifestations to you. Mwah. Love you guys.
Bye.